Well, I tell you what, I'm hooked up and hooked in. Well, let me get my microphones on so everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not too used to talking with microphones. Usually used to just yelling across the shop and things like that. When I first was approached, Janet reached out to me and asked if I would speak at this a few months ago. Actually, she had mentioned this, and I thought it was a good opportunity and got busy, as you can imagine, and didn't get an opportunity to align until I found out there was a need. And so I guess it was just a few days ago she reached out to me, and I decided I was going to do it. I was honored. I was very I felt privileged. And then I remembered an old proverb that people will tolerate how does it go? People will tolerate almost anything for a free cup of coffee. And so that humbled me a little bit and realized that it's just a great opportunity to see some new faces, some familiar faces as well, and just promote, I guess. And I'm not big on self-promotion. I just like to just connect with people and just share what I can do to help other people and not necessarily expect anything in return. I'll start with this, and then I'll get into a little bit of the history of my business, which is really my history. So Zig Ziglar, a motivational speaker, said it like this once, and I've grabbed a hold of that saying and ran with it since. If you can help enough other people be successful, you in turn will be successful yourself. And that's the philosophy of our business, is to not sell signs, not sell this, not do this, but to help other people be successful in the best way that we can. And we believe that our success will come from the wave of other people's success. So the history of me, which is my company history, is when I was young, I was always looking at other people, including my sister, who could draw really well, and I always felt disappointed that I couldn't do those things and I couldn't draw like that. But I had this desire to create and to do things and make things, and I never really identified that until I was much, much older. I always felt as if being creative and doing things that were, at the time, I felt childish by making things and drawing things and doing these things that really, in my eyes, didn't fit into the regular world of work. You know, I felt it was one of those things that just needed to be kind of put away and shoved away and not really dealt with and talked about on a serious level. And then I'm 38 now, so it was about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I decided, while doing just a little side project, I'm going to feed into this thing. I'm going to put all my focus and energy apart from God and apart from family, and then my time that I put into things, I'm going to put into this and see what happens. And if it was a bad idea, we'll just change directions. And within 2 years, I actually opened my own business, which I'd kind of had opportunities that didn't work out and missed opportunities until I hooked up with an individual. And I want to give him credit for where I am now, and that's Aaron Neal with Blackwell Dentistry. He helped me start this business, and he saw something in me that apparently was enough for him to decide that he was going to partner up with me. Since then, we've gotten very busy in both different directions, so now we're very good friends. He's got his other endeavors, and I guess just pretty much took this one over. And in November of 2017, we officially opened the doors to MakeKings, and just trying to offer all of the different things that we do. And just to touch on that a little bit, I really can't go into all of it. We just don't have enough time. And I also am a little cautious to say, look at all of these things we do, for fear of it coming off like a jack of all trades. But there is just a lot of things that we can do, and many things that we don't advertise. To start would be banners, decals, vehicle wraps, we get into that some. Fabrication of metal signs, shaped signs, illuminated signs, setting poles and concrete for signs, and just general visual solutions for businesses' needs. So in that time, I've learned quite a bit. We've grown quite a bit in equipment and abilities as well, even just since we've started in 3 years. And I guess 3.5, almost 4 now. It's getting close to 4. And as being a creative type, I have to be very careful not to chase 1,000 rabbits of different things that I want to talk about. So I want to go back a little bit to my history. When I was younger, I didn't recognize that being a creative person was something in and of itself. Being a type of person who jumps from one thing to another is something in and of itself. I always felt as if I was just a jack of all trades and a master of none. And it was really disappointing and at times very discouraging on what I was going to do in life. You know, all through my 20s, just trying to decide what I wanted to do. And when I got to 33 and I decided I was going to just put all my energy into this, I didn't realize how much momentum that had until I looked up about 2 years ago and realized, my goodness, I guess it panned out. I can do what I love to do and make a living at it and provide for my family. So it's been good. I don't know. I guess I'm not too sure what else I can really bring to this other than I think your questions is probably going to draw out more interesting content than me just kind of rambling on about the little things that I do. I know it's only been 5 minutes, but I think I want to open it up to some questions because I'm sure I'm going to talk a bit when it comes to that. So,
your challenge with equipment.
So my challenge with equipment, that is such a poignant question this particular week. So getting up in the air is not as easy as you might think. When I first started, I had a small scaffold that Aaron provided for me to just use as needed, and it came to be that we always needed it. So we used that a lot, and we found it was just really difficult to get anything done, but without having the finances to get into a bucket truck and with a business that hadn't been proven yet. I didn't even approach the bank because I didn't feel like it was something I needed to do at that time. So we cut our teeth on using scaffold and getting up and getting to where we needed. And then I was afforded the opportunity to get a bucket truck. And oh boy, that's been interesting. Buying used, it's a double-edged sword. So I always caution people, look at it from all angles. Just in the last week, we had our gentleman, this is just a little story, on the way out to Alva on a job that was behind schedule, and we had to put off a couple of times for a few reasons, and oh boy, it overheated. So we found a good way to bring it back. Not a big deal. Okay, we figured out what the problem was, fixed that, and then it decided to go out again. When was it? Monday. Yeah, it was Monday that we were loading up, and it went out again. Ended up just being a couple of fuses. So that really has been the one challenge that's stung the most, because it's so difficult for an entire section of our company, because we got the fabrication side, the creation side, and then we have the implementation side where we have to go put it in the field, we have to go install it, and service that needs done for signs that just need fixed, lights are out or whatever. And so I've tried to build into my company redundancy in a lot of areas, but with finances being what they were, it's just so difficult to say, okay, I want 2 nice bucket trucks in case one acts up, I can just go to the other one. We are in the position now to where we're probably going to be able to do that here in the next week or two. And it's been a challenge, I guess, in that aspect. My advice to anybody is always, wherever you can, get redundancy, buy parts, have them close for whatever may go wrong, which at times is impossible, but definitely if you ever can. That's helped us stay pretty flexible and allowed us to stay on schedule in many cases. But any other questions? Any other questions? Yes, Kat.
So you talked about the metal signs, the shape signs. What's been your favorite project that you've done with those large signs?
Thus far, visually appealing that I've just really enjoyed, I would say, we just installed one, but it's still probably a second to Auto Intentions here on Hartford. Auto Intentions, they do window tinting and wheels and things like that. And that allowed us to do a few different things and mix different mediums, where you have some flat signage, you have colored signage, you have like red halo lighting, so at night it looks completely different than the day. And I really enjoyed that one because at the end of the day, even though there were a lot of challenges getting it out of the door, driving by it is just really satisfying to see it, whether it's a day or night. And I guess that really leads into another thing I like about my business is I worked in the refinery for a painting contractor for about 5 years, and I did safety there. One of the greatest experiences I ever could have had working in safety because it opened my eyes to more possibilities. I remember when I first got there and I first got into safety, and we're having these meetings about how they're going to be setting, I guess it was a reactor, I believe. And I'm like, how in the world are they going to get the crane in the refinery? You just can't get it in. Simple. We're just going to take the gate and the fence and all that. We're going to move it in, and we'll rebuild the fence. I was like, so it really helped me think outside the box, and it allowed me a lot of opportunities to come up to this sign and say, okay, we've got power lines right here. I know that's dangerous because it's a power line and that's fairly common knowledge, but how do you overcome that? And having worked out at the refinery and being in safety, knowing the different resources that you can go to and the different things that are available helped me get that job done. Otherwise, I never would have got it done. So that was a good experience. It's a good experience being out there. And I do want to touch on this too, because I say this a lot. Whatever position you're in, I know we have a lot of people who are fairly established here, a lot of people who really kind of got themselves figured out and what they want to do in life. But for anybody who may be watching, or maybe there's one or two of you in here who just aren't quite sure, you like where you're at, you don't know if you like what you're doing, every single place that I've ever been that never made any sense for making signs, never made any sense for the career that I'm in now, all of those experiences have added up to the experience I have now to do what I love to do. So don't ever discount where you're at. If you hate what you're doing, look for the benefits of it. If you need to get out, of course, get out and go do something else. But there's benefits in every single place you've ever been in, whether it was working at a retail place. Like when I was young, I worked in retail and had to deal with many personalities. It's helped me deal with customers who have personalities that are different than mine. And that's okay. Just because this person is a personality I don't like doesn't mean that we can't do business. And it doesn't mean, really, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything what their personality is like. It's nothing personal most of the time. So just want to impart that bit that I've learned, that it's all moving forward if you look at it that way. Yes, Ben.
Justin, you mentioned that you were headed to Alva the other day. How far are you traveling doing this? Is that a common occurrence to go out of town?
It is somewhat uncommon. I would say about once or twice a month. So I guess somewhat common. We've got Anthony, Kansas is another job we're going to be working on soon. We're doing some work in Fairfax. And we got Stillwater too. So I guess, yeah, it's getting more common. Arc City, I would say, now that you mention it, I haven't really thought about it that way. I would say at least 25% of our workload is out of the Ponca City area right now. Yeah, we're moving around quite a bit. Yes, ma'am.
So to continue to grow your business, what future challenges do you think you might be encountering?
So as I'm going to try to be vigilant and making sure everybody heard the question and I heard it right. So as we're growing our business, you're asking what challenges we're facing. And that's a very good question because Janet was helping me with some of this. Now, would you remind me of the gentleman who's taken the reins of your position? Clayton, with the Oklahoma Manufacturers Alliance, has offered me a ray of hope. The challenges I'm facing right now is not just staffing shortage, but also finding the right staff for that position, finding people that, we talked about this before we started, on any given job, there's probably close to 20 different skill sets that are required from the implementation to the completion of. One job I was working, well, I guess let me do one work day. I'll give you an idea of the scope of what needs to be touched on to finish a work day. In the morning, we went out to Blackwell. We had a bobcat with an auger. We pulled some dirt out of the ground, set a couple poles in concrete, and at the end of the day, I was changing out electrically sensitive print heads in my printer. So it's just a whole entire scope of things. And to find somebody that fits in well with that is proving difficult. That and also implementing procedures and policies and workflow procedures, I guess, like lean manufacturing and Kaizen type things where you always reach for something and it's there and not wasting a lot of movement looking for a screwdriver, which is the bane of my existence. Always looking for some small tool. I bought 3 of them so we wouldn't have to look for it. Where's it at? And that even happened yesterday. So fortunately, Walmart came through at the end of the day and they were able to get the tools they needed, but we have them for a reason. So just implementing policies to encourage our guys, one, to to make decisions on their own. You know, I started as very much just the operator. It was pretty much just me in the beginning, to having some people around me, learning to delegate, how to delegate properly, since I see a lot of details. I was talking to one of my guys yesterday about it. I want to get to a point where I can see that just because the job is not going exactly how I imagined it, doesn't necessarily equate to it not being a good product. It's not necessarily a good product just because it's not the perfect white or exactly 3/4 of an inch. And learning how to give myself tolerance is still something I'm working on. I'll tell you a quick story about how I realized I was getting a little bit too exacting. I was putting on some decals on, I think it was just a door, and I realized when I was aligning this up and I was trying to get it level that I was measuring out to like a 64th of an inch. What am I doing? Like a 64th of an inch. So then I made standards for myself. Okay, if it's under 8 foot, it needs to be within a 16th of an inch. If it's over 8 foot, it could be a 1/4 of an inch. And nobody knows the difference but me. And so learning to just re-implement that over and over again is probably one of the 3 challenges. So just to recap, learning how to give myself tolerance. 2 would be staffing and finding staff that is a good candidate for learning 20 different crafts, and then policies and procedures and things of those nature. So, yes?
So you started out by yourself. How many employees do you have now?
I have 3 currently. We are so blessed to be in the position that we're in. We have enough work lined out that if I were to add 2 guys with 10 years of experience, it'd be 2 months probably before we needed to go look for more work or put any more on the books. So very, very booked, and got 3 guys that I believe are really good candidates for learning and teaching them a career. And that's my goal, is to teach my guys a career. I do want to touch on this too. So my philosophy, I can't remember the name. He was the first one to go in space, even though they tried to say it wasn't him. Richard Branson, I believe, of Virgin Atlantic. He has this saying with his employees: I want to train them so well that they could leave me at any moment. And then I want to treat them so well that they'll always want to stay. And that's my goal, and some people align with that vision and some people don't. And it's something I'm learning, that it's okay that if they don't want to take this journey with me. Although at first, being a new employer, I always wondered, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Because I always want to improve. But that vision is not for everybody, and it's for certain people. But I have some guys that I think are bought into that fairly well, and I'm excited about that. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
First of all, Pat and I can really relate with the tolerance and stuff. I've grown a very good eye for level. That's very helpful.
May I ask what you do? What do you do?
Huh?
What do you do for a living, for work?
That's a good question. Well,
We'll get into that later. We'll talk after. That's fine.
you create your plastic shells for the signs.
So are you talking, I guess there's a couple of different ways of doing that. You mean like formed type?
Yeah. Yes.
So that specifically we don't do in-house. We have a company out of, I believe it's Independence, Missouri, that we order those through. So most of the things that we do is going to be, the plastic will be flat, and then the dimension will be aluminum or something like that. Yeah. But we do deal with that, and we do order those quite a bit.
You service all that kind of thing.
We do service those, and if it's a sign, we touch it. If it's a sign, we get in them and we play around with them quite a bit. Yeah, Homer, did you have one?
As opposed to Justin's sign shop,
Mm-hmm.
tell us how you came up with MakeKings as a name for your company.
So me and the wife were sitting around, and we're just kind of throwing it around, different ideas, and there was probably 4 or 5 of them that came out, and I don't even remember them because apparently they weren't that good. And my wife said, "What about MakeKings?" And then she went to explain it. I said, No, I get it. I don't like it. I don't like it. MakeKings, like you make, and you're the kings of it, MakeKings. I was like, I'm going to have to explain that every single day to people. It's going to be so difficult to communicate that over the phone, and it has been. But we went with it because I think that's part of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The attraction of it, I guess. That's not the right word. But that's part of the allure of it, is the fact that I have to explain it, allows me the extra opportunity to help sink it into people's people's minds. So I didn't really like it at first, but it was her idea, and so we went with it. I wanted to be supportive, and it ended up sticking. So I'm happy for it. Any other questions?
What's the craziest thing you've had to make?
Craziest thing, the oddest thing I've ever had to make. Well, this is gonna pull into the archives. Let's see, something that would be okay. I guess the most crazy thing would be, and I have to go out and do some service on these, as a matter of fact, these miniature arcade cabinets. They're actual arcade cabinets that you can go and play what are considered now retro games. I'm old now. They're retro games. The Nintendo, Super Nintendo. You can get on there with a joystick and buttons, and we've made quite a few. And matter of fact, we're going to be making more of these arcade cabinets, more or less, that are going to be able to use newer game consoles like the Nintendo Switch and things like that. But yeah, that was probably the oddest thing that I've ever had to make. And they came out, I put a lot of time into them. They had graphics and everything. I'm really pleased with how they came out too. But yeah. Any other questions? I like that question. That was good. Made me think.
Your stuff on your website, so if they want to see kind of what you do, they can go out and look.
Facebook and my website is a good place to see some of the things that we've done. I spend more time making than posting. I'm bad about that, but I have some people that are helping me. But yeah, Facebook is going to be a good place. We have some things. I need to update the website. I do. But I think that's what's on there now. It shows a good eclectic group of the scope of what we do. But yeah, Facebook is another good one, and the website. Any other questions? Well, I do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to me. Hopefully, I was able to offer something for somebody, and that was kind of my goal and mission for this. So thank you again. I appreciate it, and have a good day, guys. Appreciate it.